A couple of days ago, a massive... By the way, I will answer everyone's question with this. Everyone always asks, why does every single, like, news outlet use just this one picture that doesn't even exist in the show? The reason why is because there's a media package, and I believe this is the highest resolution image that was there. And this is the same media package that's been going around for, like, I don't know, like a decade or something. I think I have it myself. There's, like, a media package that everyone gets, right? If you want to report on stuff, and it's there. That's why. Anyway. An action RPG, AAA Avatar: The Last Airbender game is in the works. Developed by Paramount Game Studios and Saber Interactive, will follow a all-new, never-before-seen Avatar and will take place thousands of years in the past. Now, this is where I was locked in. Now, unfortunately, there is also bad stuff with this, right? Because Avatar has gotten video games before. Not great video games. The most recent one... There's a lot of them, but the most recent one was done by the infamous studio, and it was horrible. Quest for Balance. Let's open it up on Steam and real quick just look at it. It's one of the worst games ever created. It's done by the very, very famous Game Mill, right? Who also had the great privilege of making, where is it? The Walking Dead. Is the same thing, right? Or he's like the same publisher. It's basically the same devs, same publisher. I don't even know about the details. Whatever the case. It's a really, really, really bad game, right? However, if you look at the title, Saber Interactive. Now, I thought I'd heard of this before. And the reason why I'd heard of this before is because I'd actually heard of it very, very recently. Why had I heard of it very, very recently? Because of this right here. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. This game came out, like, a month ago. Not even a month ago. That's why I'd heard of it. So this is an actual studio that's made good stuff. However, the more, like, the further back you go, the more you'll realize that they are a massive, 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 massive company with many, many, many subsidiaries. And I'm not entirely sure, like, who develops these things, how much of it is, like, in-house, how much of it is outsourced. You see a lot of remasters here, for example, right? I don't know why they're all separated by platform. Maybe they were done by different teams or something. Whatever the case, they're making a lot of stuff, right? And the Paramount thing, they don't really have that many games officially. So mostly I think we should be looking at this. I do think this is a good sign, though, generally speaking. Let's read through this. So right now, I don't have any red flags yet. There is more information. Let's look through all the information. Its first AAA game. By the way, I think if they literally made, like, God of War Ragnarok, that kind of game, with Avatar characters, everyone would love it. If they made a game like Hogwarts Legacies, everyone would love it. If they made a game like GTA, everyone would love it. Like, literally, all of these different kinds of already established formulas, make that, insert Avatar characters, print money. That's all you have to do. Paramount Game Studios and Saber Interactive announced today a new action RPG based in what's called an Avatar Legends universe. The label on the world in... Sure, whatever. Collaboration with Avatar Studios is still early in development, so details are a little slim at the moment. But the company's called the biggest video game in franchise history. I sure hope so. It'll be made for both PC and consoles and tell a new story in the universe that's being developed in close collaboration with Avatar Studios. Now, I will tell you something. A while ago, I got weird emails. These weird emails, they were so weird that I just completely wrote them off. However, they said something about taking inspiration from Wukong. And based on the things that we're going to be talking about in just a second, that they might have had some credibility to it. Because a lot of the stuff that's in here, we'll talk about it. It'll put players in the role of an all-new, never-before-seen avatar and take place thousands of years in the past. This is also what I heard. According to Paramount and Saber, players can expect to be immersed in a vibrant world, master all 4 elements, engage in a dynamic combat alongside companions, and experience... Well, this is just like literally meaningless fluff. Whatever. What does this even mean? It adds that story-wise, it'll feature elements both new and familiar to fans of the franchise. I assume what they're going to do is they're going to have like a lot of the same spirits. And, like, a lot of the same spirits will be, like, quest givers. 100% is going to be, like, Wan Shi Tong. Wan Shi Tong will 1,000,000% be in there. By the way, thousands of years before, this is, like, I'm pretty sure pre-nations existing. We know loyal fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender have been eager for more stories that bring them into the universe. Sure. Saber Interactive has a proven track record in bringing IP-based games to life. True. Again, very recently, Warhammer Space Marine 2. Apparently, it's really good. I don't care about Space Marine. Or rather, Warhammer, not Space Marine. So, but I've heard that this game is very, very good, and that it is excellent for people who like the Warhammer universe, based on what I've heard anyway. And we are excited to co-fund this AAA title alongside them and let fans experience this world firsthand. At Saber, we are all truly fans of the IP we work with, said Josh Austin, head of IP development. Our team members are some of the most devoted, passionate creatives out there, and it's an honor to join forces with Avatar Studios and Paramount Games to further expand the Avatar Legends universe in video games. World War Z was also a pretty decent game. I don't think it really found its footing early enough, but it was a very decent game. Mixed history in video games dating back to 2006's companion game. Yes. They haven't really had very good games, ever. There is more stuff about this. There is a podcast episode coming out, I think, like, next week. But apparently, like, I think if you sub to their Patreon, you can get it early or something. So here is someone who listened to it. They talked Fortnite, Roblox, Realms Collide, nothing new there. The fighting game coming out next year, heavily based on meant to feel like Street Fighter. 10 characters available at launch. By the way, this is like an old announcement. There is an Avatar fighting game. I was never really excited about it because it's an Avatar fighting game. So, you know. Also refer them to as the Core 4. So not sure if only vendors in this game. Very much a fighting merchant mechanics game, so learning combos. But will be approachable to players? Sure. How to balance avatars? They can use all the elements, but Zuko will be stronger with fire than Aang. Sure. AAA RPG. Confirmed open world action RPG. This is what we like. This is what I wanted to hear. He said you create your own bender/character, but you're also the avatar. A bit confusing there. All 4 nations available. You could explore bossing, say, etc. Now, this is where it lines up kind of oddly with bits of what I heard. This whole, like an avatar, but what I heard that they were, the nations weren't actually established. That's what I heard. So I think, like, basically what I got the 7,000 years ago. Let's get to this. Working title: Ice Wars. Set 7,000 years ago, natural disaster, a volcano erupts and is starting a new ice age. Basically, what I was told, and I thought it was complete nonsense, is that the nations don't exist, but I was told that the nations don't exist because they were destroyed somehow. So I think it was just a lucky guess, but it's just funny that it lines up. Because basically what they said, and I think if you go back, I remember seeing this right here. So this is what that sort of links back to, but this is clearly wrong now. Leaker claims an Avatar video game has been worked on since 2021, right? And this was like set between Legend of Korra and Avatar, and a bunch of this stuff. But this thing that it references Wukong, this is what I heard multiple times. So, you're a new Avatar in the middle of this, discover yourself, go on a journey, there'll be a new villain. Brian made key art, we'll see on the video Tuesday. So this is this coming Tuesday. Estimated release 2027, but don't hold him to it. These games always have delays. Looking into VR, more narratively driven games, casual games, puzzle games. I suppose one funny thing about Realms Collide is that Janet and Dante had the same reaction as most fans when Doug said you're building your own empire. Like, oh, is that very Avatar-like? Isn't that what the villains usually do? This is, I think, the mobile game. So, I think, like, based on everything that's here, I think this has the potential to be incredible. I am excited for this. Now, there is basically nothing to really draw on, right? Because, again, like the stuff that was supposedly sent to me, I hold zero value in that at all. I think it's just made up. But a AAA RPG, open world, where you create your character, that already sounds good. Because that doesn't have, like, the restrictions of having to, like, play as Aang in a weird setting. Now, that said, I would not be against a AAA RPG where you literally just play through the main story. Again, just in video game form. I would not be against that. I think that would be very cool. I don't really know how they'd make it work, though. But I think having the freedom to making a AAA game in the Avatar universe, I mean, it could literally be akin to, like, Wukong, akin to Elden Ring in terms of its fantasy. And it would be great. Just an open world game with bosses, with weird spirits, with like certain regions. You could even do like the Ubisoft Outpost thing. You know, like this outpost is being attacked by spirits. You need to like fend them off and stuff. This gives me good vibes. We're getting the Warcraft champion Dragonborn, nothing happens without us type character. It does sound like that, yeah. It does sound like you are the avatar and like basically everything revolves around you. Now, this thing here obviously implies that it's not going to be totally canon. Unless they're going to do like a, later in the avatar lore, right? They're going to do like a, this was an avatar who history is confused about. They did all of these great things, but we don't really know who they were, or something like that, right? Where like the actions that existed in the main story of this game are canon, but the character themselves is not. So we sort of cover up that little plot hole. But I think the avatar like lore right now is very flimsy as is. I'm gonna be honest. They're doing so many different things, and like every other thing they release sort of retcons things or sort of like makes things weird. It was like with the Roku book. That was very, very explicit with the library stuff. The stuff they said there is kind of like it felt very fan servicey, and a bunch of it kind of retcon stuff. Basically, I'm not concerned about lore. I wish they just make a good game. That's what I want. Different skill trees with elements and mixing elements together to make combos. I have no idea how a game like this would play. I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea how you would ever capture the freedom of bending. I've got no idea. Because bending is martial arts, and it's very, very snappy martial arts. And a lot of the bending techniques, they are extremely movement heavy. You know what I think the closest game to capturing the fantasy of what bending would look like is to me? It's Risk of Rain. Risk of Rain 2. I think the 3D snappy movement of Risk of Rain 2 is probably the closest thing to what I can imagine a bending combat system to work like. Because when I think about bending, like, an Elden Ring system's not going to work where it sort of locks you into combat. A God of War system's not really going to work either. Assassin's Creed's not really going to work. Part of me wishes they retold the Wand story by older avatars that vaguely get it from over direct retelling. I kind of wish we just don't touch Wand again. Devil May Cry is what you're describing? Devil May Cry is a good shout because it like it does the whole like stance dancing thing with weapons. Devil May Cry is actually a pretty decent example, yeah. Yeah. I think Devil May Cry is a good example. The only thing Devil May Cry lacks is 3D like movement with combat. Right? So like you can fling mobs around, you can fling them into the sky, you can sort of like dance around with them in the sky. But what you can't do is like movements with the enemies themselves, right? So you can't like jump on a ledge and then attack them from the ledge because that's going to give you like a better opening, stuff like that, right? So I think Devil May Cry is snappy and it plays well, but it doesn't really have the verticality, I guess, of an RPG zone. But something like Devil May Cry would work, yeah. Yeah, I think this is like completely wrong. These might have been like very, very early sketches or something, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Batman with the style of Devil May Cry then. I haven't played the Batman games, but people say that like their combat system is also really good. So, fact of the matter is, in terms of the type of game they're making, I think this has by miles the biggest chance of success, the biggest pull for Avatar fans. I think they've basically made the best decision with this, assuming that it's good. Oh my god. You know what the best example of what I'm talking about is? It's freaking Prototype. Prototype's gameplay system and movement system is what Avatar needs. Prototype is perfect for this. Because in Prototype, you could fly around, you could stance dance with all the different like forms of weird hands. Yes. Just reskin Prototype. I'm so excited for this. I really, really hope they do it justice. I do. I wouldn't expect it, like they said here, 2027, 2028. It's gonna be such a long time. It's gonna be such a long time. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have literally no idea what video games are gonna look like in 5 years. I think a lot of people don't realize just how drastically video games are about to change. Every single like Unreal Engine update that comes out, I am like, current implementation lags behind like current technology, right? And the stuff we're seeing now, and the stuff we're still yet to see, All of that is going to be implemented. I've talked about this before. I think GTA 6 will be the last game we consider modern video game. I think after that, things are going to get very, very wild. With, like, procedural generation and stuff. A lot of games during that era just had 4 abilities because 4 directional buttons. They still have that. The reason why they have that is consoles. A lot of the games that you see with, like, 4 little buttons, it's just because they're on console. And that's why, like, a lot of PC gamers really don't like games that are being made with console in mind, because a lot of them will be like, they'll be simplified, dumbed down, for the sake of being able to be, you know, to be played on a console, basically. I think, like, the scroll wheel selection thing was one thing that, like, really made consoles more on par with keyboards. But even that is, like, you know, it's not really. It's not really. Like, I know Final Fantasy 14 is on Xbox, right? So people play even MMOs on a console. But I'm not sure, like, I've never seen anyone play with a console controller, basically. So I don't know, like, how many buttons you actually have to press, like, what the average button press per second is. Well, it's actually not even button press, because there's, like, a GCD, right? And that's why I didn't like Final Fantasy 14 Combat, by the way, because they have a very long GCD. And it felt like I was constantly, like, hamstrung. But I'll be there. I want an Avatar game. I really, really do. By 2028, let's see if we're also going to be plugged into the Matrix, or like full dive VR tech is going to already be out, or we're still going to be playing with just mouse and keyboard. I guess we'll have to wait and see. 2028, I think, is going to be a wild year for video games. For the old games of the video. We'll see. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, 2028 is much, much bigger in VR. Because right now you're seeing, like, a lot of glasses becoming smaller and smaller. I think VR displays by 2028 will be something that is consumer level and it's basically glasses.